Hello everyone, Shua Allegra here. So I'm have again new and old friends, trying to just have conversation about the good work that they're all doing out here in the world. And today I have Atiya with me, and I'll let her introduce herself. Let us know a little bit about who you are, what you do.
Hi, everyone. My name is Atiya Goldsmith Irby. I do a number of things as far as separation from career is in the international trade industry. And then for my personal, I host a relationship realness podcast with my husband, and I am also the author of So You Want to Be a Landlord. So my husband and I, we rehab houses and rent them out.
Nice. Wow. You have your hands are in a lot of things, but a lot of good things. It's
Yes,
and it's so
yes.
it's so different from one another, from landlord and then the relationship one. But thank you for one being here, and thank you for what you do. I know some of us have the some to think about wanting to be a landlord, so I'm about to check out that book as well.
Yes.
Yeah. And so what's your backstory? How did you come to do what it is that you do?
So my backstory is for houses, everyone need houses, right? You always need shelter. I don't care what's going on, shelter will always be,
Number
a
one.
number one necessity
Mhm.
of things that you need. But my backstory is just growing up, we didn't have a lot of company, but my mother will always allow people if they were going through hardship or, just maybe growing up and they had some concerns or fights with their parents, she would allow them a place to stay. So that's kind of just that inkling of providing housing for people is what I got at such a young age. And then my mom actually had rental properties when she got older. So of course I had an example, right, to have rental properties. And then my very first property was actually my mom had became sick and she
Mhm.
had a rental property. So I actually purchased one of her rental properties off of her and used as my first home. And then once the house was too small for my family needs, then I used my first property to, rent it out. And so I've been a landlord since 2009.
Wow, wow. Been doing it for 11 years now. Wow.
Yes,
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And it's nice to sometimes it's like it's those circumstances, that situation that just happened, right? And
right,
then if through what was a crisis, having your mom being ill, and it is a crisis, a health crisis for her, but also it's a crisis probably for the whole family because you all get affected in so many ways. And
right,
instead of letting that crisis kind of, make you all of you crumble, you use that crisis kind of reinventing yourself, and and kept one of the family heritage, and one of the family, probably loom as well, something that was important to your family,
right.
and kept
Because
that
she was going
going.
to lose it. She was going to lose the house. She was
Mhm.
going to eventually lose the house. And so I said, well, why allow her to lose it? And I can just, pay for it. That way I get to pay, all of the remainder, the back taxes, but I also get to give her some money, as well. So it just actually just worked out well. And so, since then I was been able to obtain, multiple properties and still allowing to rent to those people who, don't need it because most of my tenants they have not the best circumstances. So if that is not the best credit score, or maybe they're just starting out, they don't have the credit history, they're divorced. So allowing these people an opportunity. And I guess I forgot to say there was a time that I was actually homeless. So that is another reason for me providing houses to people who may not have the same circumstances that are required. So if that's a specific credit score or anything like that, it's like we all just need a chance. And sometimes we're just starting over. And so my son says, well, mom, you typically, for some reason, I was like, renting to people, they had like one son, and when I was homeless I just had one child at the time. And so my son constantly reminds me to say, like, mom, it's like you see you have that same thing from when you and I was in the shelter. And I'm like, it just so happens to be that way. Right, those are the people, the applicants, right? They happen to just have one son. So I also got the inkling from, providing housing from my mother as a young child, but then I also was in a circumstance that I didn't have housing for a certain amount of months. And so, I took the measures to go into a shelter and then use one of the programs to help me with my rent until I got on my feet. And so this is why I'm now able to say, I understand that you don't have enough credit. I understand that even maybe 2 years ago you got evicted, but circumstances change, right?
Mm.
And we all just need another chance.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's so beautiful. So you're not just a landlord, you're kind of a beacon of hope for others who've been where you were,
I,
you know?
kind of, because I say all the time, I'll be like, sometimes, we fight and we like, am I doing what my purpose is? And my husband, now, he wasn't with me when I was homeless, but my husband now, he's like, do you know your purpose? You provide housing for people. Like, that's a
Mhm.
good purpose. And I'm like, I know, but I feel like I need to do more. And so, that's just one of the things, but we do get to provide, like you said, a beacon of hope for others. And so,
Yeah.
God willing, I just get to pay it forward that way.
Yeah. Well, thank you for paying it forward. I know that many appreciate that.
Mhm.
And I guess I want to get a little side question based on what you responded earlier. So you also do a relationship podcast with your husband. So how did that
Right.
come to be?
Well, the thing is, I live outside the city where I'm originally from, Philadelphia, PA, and I live outside of Philly. And between going to work full time, raising 3 kids, going to school, because a late bloomer, so I went to college afterwards, and I'm in a city where it's only me. I felt like, well, who else do I have to talk to? Because I'm at work all day and I don't really get a chance to talk there. My husband's at work all day, and even when we come home, sometimes we're just like, he may have to fix a screw or on something, and I may have to do something else. So I really wasn't getting a connection to be around other couples or just to have the conversation around relationships. And so we pretty much started it just from more so for me to connect, because I was just kind of bored of just being in the city by myself and not knowing anyone. So I
Mhm.
figured if I can connect with people through the podcast/Facebook group, then that would be my way to interact. And so that was why that came about.
Out of necessity, right? That's the greatest invention comes out of necessity. So wow, that's a
Right,
nice.
right.
Yeah. So now you kind of share a little bit of why you even do the podcast and why you do the housing stuff. So now, what I guess what keeps you going? Why are you still doing this after 11 years of being a landlord? Why are you still pushing through these things that you do?
Well, one, as I said, I'm providing someone else an opportunity as they get on their feet. Maybe they need to save for their first home. Maybe they need to build credit. So that's the one thing, is providing that opportunity. But the second one would be legacy, right? So
Mm.
I was able to start from my mom having a property, and then I purchased it off of her. Now, God willing, my children won't have to purchase my properties off of me. They will be passed down to them, but it is legacy. And so I was able to use my mom's first property. Now I have multiple properties. And so, all my children, my grandchildren, is the goal for all of them to at least have a property just for them to start. I can't build the legacy by myself, but I can be responsible for laying the groundwork. And so if all of my children and grandchildren is at least able to start off with a property of their own, that means that that can then help them, when they get their own properties, and they'll already be a landlord, or they'll already have assets as they become an adult. And then, of course, we'll all just continue this to the next generation. And that's pretty much what it is. The Hiltons and all of these families, they don't get legacy off of one generation. Most likely
Mm.
it's because it was passed down, and then their
Mhm.
children obtained some things and added to the bunch, and then their
Mhm.
children is going to do the same thing. So I was able to do that, and then I keep going too. Having property allows me to, I'm able to take money out their property and invest it in other things, right? And so,
Mhm.
despite having a job, I haven't had a full-time job in the last 5 years, and I was able to sustain,
Mhm.
right, by not having a job because of some of the investments that I made, which is good, right?
It's a
So,
good place to
it,
be.
yes, right. So it's really, really, good just to have that. And my last child is going off to college next year, so it'll help as far as you get the help with tuition, you just, legacy. And property, nobody's building any more land, right? And so you have to get some land now because the
Yeah.
world, you can't get more land. And so why not obtain property? Because people will always need somewhere to stay. And as I said before, it affords me to then take money out the properties and I'm able to put them in other investments that make me money. So when I don't have a job, I can sustain. But just, long-term wealth is the ultimate goal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, yes, it's good to attain that wealth. I like how the why, you're obtaining that wealth, like you said,
Mhm.
it's giving that legacy, it's helping people in the process, so many people in the process. So you do all of that for them. How can we support you? People listening, myself included, how can we support you?
Well, one, I do have an ebook. It's the cost of coffee, and you can probably read it while you have your morning coffee, right? And so it's an ebook, and it's just my goal is to help other people, even if everybody obtains one additional property. Just having one additional property will help them, for when their kids will go off to college, or even just when they're in the gym or to pay medical bills. Just
Mhm.
having income from that would just help them. So my goal is to push people for ownership, right? And at least get one property. I know we see all of these images out here and people talking about having 20, 30 properties, and that's all good for them, right? Of course, I hope I'm able to have that, but start off with one,
It starts
right?
with
And that is
one.
just the
Yeah.
goal. Just start with one, and even if you can't get a property, start off with the space that you already have. A lot of us have space. We can change our garage into a separate entry and then make
Mm.
that downstairs a studio. We can start off with what we have, and so just introducing the idea of different ways to get into real estate in the sense of renting out space, just to get that idea for people, because I know what it can do. And plus it can also, if you start off with renting out a room or a space in your own home, it lets you know, well, do I want to move forward? Do I want to get other properties? So you can kind of test it right out in a way just within your own home to see if you still want to be a landlord and get multiple properties down the line. You get to start off with, your house. My good friend, she does the Airbnb, and she
Mm-hmm.
rents out 2 rooms in her home, and she makes good money. But she has the breakfast. She's very good with her hospitality. So that just it just gives you a little inkling. And this is the thing: you don't have to purchase any more space, right? You already have your home. You're already paying a mortgage. So how can you at least start off with your own home and renting out a permanent space? So we can just sometimes start off with what we have, because I know it could be scary about, a loan, excuse me, a loan or anything else as far as another property. But just giving people the ideas, just different things around being a landlord, what to look for, contractors, talking about that type of thing. I want to get people interested in the thought. So the ebook can be purchased. I'm sure you can probably put the information up later or
Put the
post
link
it
in the
on the recording.
description
It
because I
is,
knew you sent it to me.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So I will, we will put the link, excuse me, we can
Mm-hmm.
put the link in the description, and then they can start off with just getting the ebook. Like I said, it's the cost of coffee, and you can read it while you are drinking your morning coffee or tea or lemon water. But I
Yeah.
just want to get people introduced to the idea of obtaining property for the long haul.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, we'll post the link there for everyone. I'm getting the ebook. You better go get it as well. Because yeah, still thinking about leaving that legacy and that residual income moving, in the future. Yeah, the economy will change now and then. You can't rely on it so as much as we thought we could. So thank you for sharing your wisdom with us, sharing your story with us, and thank you for all that you do. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you.